The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andy Tuttle, branch manager of the Tuttle Group at Fairway Mortgage. With me today is Judy Hoberman, best-selling author, speaker, coach. She talked at the YPN event about selling in a skirt, and we're going to dig into that more today. What I want to do to start out, though, is just kind of remind you of what this is all about. So we're calling this our Business Wrap-Up webinar series. So the idea is it's getting to the end of the year. All through November, we want to kind of wrap a bow around your business this year and get you focused on getting a rolling start to next year to make sure you have your best year yet, right? Every year we want to be your best year yet. And so the first week, a few weeks ago, we had Jeff Crilly on, owner of Real News PR. He talked about getting on TV and radio. We had Jimmy Nelson last week about how to tell your story in the digital marketing space. This week, we're going to have Judy Hoberman. We're going to talk about how to stand out. 3 simple ways and some tactics to go with each of them to really stand out in your marketplace. And then next week, we're going to have Dayton Schrader, top producer, closed 50 sides last month, is going to net $2 million this year, and he's going to talk to you specifically about your real estate business. You got to remember, he does all referral stuff, and that's what all of these speakers are talking about. That is the message, is that you don't have to go and buy a ton of online leads and try to have a little relationship. We don't want all those transaction business. That is not scalable or sustainable to have a healthy life with, but a referral business where you are attractive and you are attracting people to your business is a much more sustainable and exciting business to be a part of. So we're excited to bring those thoughts and ideas to you today. And what we'll do is Judy's going to kind of talk and present for 10 to 15 minutes and do a little wrap up of what she talked about at the event, and then kind of go into some of these ideas, and then we're going to take your questions. So you can go to your tab, you can type in the questions field and you can in the chat, and you can type to me, the organizer, and I will read out those questions when we get to the back half of our call, and then hopefully we'll make this very valuable for you, and it'll give you some excitement and energy going into the last month of the year. So Judy, take it away.
Well, I'm super excited to be here, and I had so much fun at YPN and met so many amazing people that I'm still in contact with, so that's always the best part, because it's all about building relationships. And when I talk about, selling in a skirt, it really is the acronym of SCIRT. And, we go back and forth with lots of different acronyms, but mine truly happened to fit the word skirt, so there you go. But mine is really about standing out, keys to success, inspiration, results, and there you go, and time management. That's the SCIRT ladder. Whoa, there you go. So, of course, be careful how you brand yourself, because I always wear a skirt. But the truth of the matter is we live in a very, very noisy world. It's extremely noisy. And no matter what you do, no matter what industry you're in, you're competing with other people to get the same dollars. So if you're a realtor and you're sitting in a room with hundreds of other realtors, you're thinking these are all your competitors. In reality, they're not, because everybody has something that makes them stand out from a crowd. So are you somebody that is working with veterans? Are you somebody that's working with first-time buyers, single women, people that are buying only multi-million-dollar homes? There's something in there for everyone. When you first start out, you might be, trying to figure out like what's really my market, but you're going to figure it out, because you're going to figure out who do you want to be playing with in your sandbox, because that's the people that you have to work with. So when we talk about standing out, it means that you're going to have more credibility. It's going to give you something that people are looking for. So whether it's, giving a handout, or whether it's writing, a how-to or a checklist, or an article in a magazine or a newsletter, or if you have a blog, something that gets your name in front of people consistently, and not always saying, do you want to buy a house? Do you want to sell your house? Because you can't do that. People will start, giving you the sign of the vampire, saying, I don't even want to talk to this person. So with that said, I always tell people you need to be an expert. So how are you an expert in your field? And you better own that title. You want to be the expert in your field. You want people to say, oh, if I'm buying a house and I'm a veteran, I am calling this person. If I am a new, a fairly new person to the work world and I'm getting to buy my very first house, I heard that so-and-so is an expert there. If you're going to buy a mortgage and you know how crazy mortgages can be, you want the person that can help you and educate you across the lines. So become the expert and own the title, because if you don't own it, anybody else can just scoop it away. Now, I always tell the story, and I believe I probably told it at YPN, is that In order for you to be the expert, there are two things you have to do. You have to ask a question and you have to listen. And they go hand in hand. Now, there's no way that anybody's going to become an expert if they don't listen to anyone. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how successful you are. It doesn't mean that you're the person that people are going to look for. When I moved to Dallas, I was given a realtor because I was a relo. You didn't have an option. And so this person who was the #1 agent in his company, and it was a huge company, I'm not going to mention names, huge company, he showed me houses. I bought number 100. Why? Because he never asked me what I wanted, and he never listened to when I told him anything. And in fact, when he would call me and say, there's a new house on the market, I would say to him, will I like it? He said, probably not, but it's new. Okay, that doesn't make you right. It doesn't mean that you're listening to me or anything, but the #1 compliment a salesperson gets is, wow, she or he really listened to me. And I'm telling you, when you get that compliment, you might as well put the neon light above your head because people are going to start gravitating towards you. So just ask the questions and listen to the answers. With that said, as the question queen, which is what my nickname is, I don't necessarily ask just close-ended questions, a yes, no, maybe so. I don't say, do you want to live in Plano? Do you want to go to the school system? Do you want a one-story house? I would not ask those questions. I would get around to that. But my questions would be more open-ended. My question would be more, tell me why you want to live in Plano. Tell me why having a one-story house is important to you. What does it look like if your family was coming at one time? Would we have enough space here? I get them to have a conversation with me because when they do, I've got their why. And having their why is the most important thing you can have, especially when you repeat it back to them. So with that said, I think I always say this is, I will ask my clients, are you okay, and prospective clients, are you okay if I take notes? Because I don't want to miss anything that you're saying. What are they going to do, say no? Of course they're going to say yes, because they know that you're interested in them. You want to be interested, not interesting. So there's another little tidbit that you can throw out there. But the point of the matter is when you listen, it equals success. Because you can hear what they want. Had this realtor asked me a few questions and listened to me, I might have found my house at number 20. I know I'm particular, I know what I like, I know what I don't like, but I never should have seen 100 houses, ever. And I shouldn't have lived in a hotel for, 6 months. So, go ahead.
I just find it interesting because so many realtors that I know, they'll go around, they're like, oh my gosh, it took me 70 homes to get this buyer to buy. And then I know some real top agents that are like, no, my buyers, we only look at 3 to 5 houses together max. And I think one of the big lessons I'm just hearing as you talk is not only does the client doesn't like it, but you don't like it either. It drains your time. It's bad for everybody.
Right, and I just heard a realtor say not too long ago, she goes, look, it's not HGTV where you're only going to see 3 houses. Of course you're going to see, tons of them. I'm thinking, you really don't need to see tons if you already know what it is you want. Now, I get the fact that there's not a lot of inventory and that the market is awesome. I do understand that, and you might have to see more houses, but there's no reason anybody should see 70 houses or 100 houses. There's no reason, really, honestly.
Well, they say the mind, after 3 choices, it just starts to run together and it makes it so much harder. So, it's like they say even in investing, take 100 houses online, look at 10, make offers on 3 and buy 1. So it's a good rule of thumb to follow. Go ahead.
Absolutely, because it gets to be very confusing. It's almost like when you take your kids to look at colleges. I made my kids have a pad and a pen, I'm very old-fashioned, and they had to write down everything that they liked and didn't like in that particular school, because when you went to the next one, you forgot it all. And we only would look at, 3 or 4 colleges a day because it's so confusing. Well, why isn't a house just as confusing, if not more so?
Yeah.
Okay? The other piece of this is as you're going through your career, you have some people that you have relationships with. You may have 1 or 2, you may have 100. I don't know, because it just depends on how much you like to go out there and network. But the point is, you have to start building relationships before you need them. It's very difficult to have that you need something and you have nobody to ask. So for me, if I was a realtor, I would want to make sure that I aligned myself with people that are in my space, that are taking money from people in my space, but they complement me and they don't compete with me. So, if I needed something, I know that I can ask all these people that are around me because we're working towards the same goal. So you want to build relationships before you need them. And with that said, My favorite thing are walking ambassadors. How many of you have somebody that's talking about you in a good way, to everyone? Like they're basically like, broadcasting with a megaphone saying, hey, do you know Andy Tuttle? You've got to meet this guy. Because, you can trust him. You know that what he tells you he's going to do, he's going to do. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. He's a real person, solid person, salt of the earth, whatever you want to call him. So I have no problem bringing up his name in conversation. And in fact, I just did this week. I was with somebody down in my bubble, and I said, do you know Andy Tuttle? He goes, of course I know Andy Tuttle. Everybody knows Andy. So my point is that you have walking ambassadors out there that you don't know yet. People that are, you're building a relationship and they're starting to trust you and you're starting to trust them. It doesn't mean that you refer them out 1, 2, 3. You have to really get to know them, because the worst thing you could do is refer someone that really takes advantage of your clients. And I've had that happen where people fool you and they seem they're amazing, and they're just scam artists. So I'm very careful. But when I love you, and I make sure that you're in almost any conversation that I'm with, because I want to make sure that you are connected to my people. And and I say my people because I really hold them close to the vest. I don't just give away my people. But when I refer you to somebody, to me, I call it the most valuable free lead that there is. No one else is getting it, just you. I'm not giving it to 25 people and watching to see who's going to grab it first. I'm very selective. So my people that I'm a walking ambassador for, they know when I introduce them, I'm doing it very intentionally. And it's it's a different story than just, handing out business cards and here you go. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, I do. I think because it's so powerful, I kind of want to circle back. So you
Okay.
said something that I think is really important on the ambassador piece. And I think this is very underutilized, misunderstood, undervalued, about the power of third-party edification, the value of that third-party referral, and the stronger that you can cross-sell, that you can edify, that you can be an ambassador for, the more credibility you give the person that you're referring to then cross-sell you back. And then the end result is that the client feels so ridiculously special that it is going to be easier. One, trust is, we call it the triangle of trust. And the more that you and I in this example build up each other, the more the client can trust us both. And as the process goes, we make it that much easier to impress and wow them. And when we deliver, they want to refer us because they feel so appreciated and loved.
And not just appreciated and loved, they also feel as if that, they don't have to worry about their money, they don't have to worry about, their reputation, integrity. They know this is a solid relationship. And when you sell a house or you buy a house or you list a house or anything in their real estate market, it's not just that one person. It's not just that one person, because if you did me well, I've got lots of friends and I've got family and their family has family and those family have friends. I mean, it's amazing. It's truly amazing. There's a statistic out there that women have 174 contacts in their cell phone and in their email. 174. Okay, so if you did me well, if I only had 174 and I have a lot more than that, that's 174 people that I could give you access to. And each person, the average person, has that number. You just keep going. You could work with one person and all of a sudden you're all over the Dallas-Fort Worth market because they keep moving you. They keep, adding you to people. It's interesting. I come from the insurance and financial world, and I had a client who was a mason contractor that I met on a job site who he said, you'll never show up, which I did in my work boots, and he bought insurance from me. And my skirt. And he actually bought insurance from me, told me to come back the next week. I sold his brother's family insurance. And then the third time he told me to come back, he said, just bring applications. And so he had all of his guys lined up. They didn't even know what they were buying, but he said, you have to trust her. She shows up, she does what she's going to say she's going to do, she means business. And I wrote all of them. And then they sent me to like the framers and the people that did the drywall and the electricians and the plumbers. I stayed on a job site for a couple of months because it was about a relationship. And truly, that's what you can do when you build a relationship in this market.
I think that's so big, and it's so important to differentiate between transactional business, like where you're going and buying online leads and there's low trust environment, and building a relational business that can feed you long after you've invested the time and money. Because once you build that brand, and you're always got to be working, of course, but it starts to your reputation for being such a giver and so trustworthy, and like you said, do what you're going to say you're going to do, and because you're so focused on the relationship that you won't even know where the leads are coming from. I mean, people are just starting to refer you, and it becomes a machine. So we've got how to stand out. We've got a couple of things here. One, have some marketing collateral, have some credibility builders, whether it's a handout or a book, etc. Make sure you're actively listening and focus on actively listening. And then the third is having walking ambassadors, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What other ways, how else we want to dig into how you can stand out before we get to questions here in about 5 minutes?
Okay, so one of the things that I do want everybody to think about for a minute, ask your friends or your family, how would they describe you? Give them, let them give you some adjectives, and then I want you to describe yourself and see if they match, because sometimes people see things in you that you didn't see, good or bad. And if somebody says that you're too aggressive, or whatever it is, and you don't really feel like that, you might need to work on that just a little bit, especially when you're starting out into this business, or even if you've been in it for a few years and you're trying to figure out, well, how do I attract a different market, or whatever it is. A lot of times people will say to me, you're so funny. I am funny. I know I'm funny, and I'm my own best audience, but I'm more than funny. So what else am I? And that's what I would say. Well, tell me what else I am. Well, you're a little bit, aggressive, or kind of, and then I'm thinking, well, like, wow, am I that aggressive? I'm really not. That's my personality, and because I want you to know how much I care about you, but I had to dial it back a little bit. So that's what I'm saying. Ask people what they think about you, and just get some adjectives in there, and see, if you would describe yourself in the same way. And one of the things that is so important, doesn't matter what industry you're in, doesn't matter how long you're in it, is your goals. You have got to have goals, and you've got to write them down. There are so many studies about people that don't write goals versus people that do write goals. Or think about what's coming up, New Year's, and those are the resolutions that they tell you that by the end of January, like 80% of people have already blown the resolutions. You can't do that with goals. You actually have to write down your goals, where you want to be at the end of the year, and then work backwards. You have to take the number of houses, or the number of, the dollars that you want to earn, or the amount of new clients that you want, and work backwards. So if you have a really big number that's your goal, if you divide it by the month, by the week, by the day, we used to even do it by the hour sometimes. We wanted to be that focused. At least you can track it. So, and I say that, like most people say, well, everybody has goals. Not everybody does, and not everybody does them the right way, and not everybody writes them down. So I'm telling you, from somebody that didn't do it when I started my business, and I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea if I was doing better. I had money sometimes. I had no money other times, but what did that mean? I'm an entrepreneur. Can't do it like that. Honestly, you can't do it like that. So I think that's a big piece of it.
I would say on that note too, I think sometimes, even when I see it, there's so many books on goal setting and planning and this, it's become so we've kind of got a little numb to it,
Yeah,
and we've gotten just enough of it in some YouTube videos or some short bit or maybe even a little talk to inoculate us from the total value of it. And I would say, to your point, like, it's no matter how successful you get, no matter what you do, the best never stop setting and resetting goals. It has to be a discipline that you practice on a daily, weekly, monthly, and annual basis.
Totally agree. And one of the things that I do every quarter is I sit myself down quietly and I do my 3 R's, which is review, readjust, and release. And what I do is I look and see what I've done, and I review everything that I've done. And some things that I love that I've done, they're not working. Even though I'm in my mind they work, but they don't work on paper. And so I have to readjust it. If I readjust it this quarter and I go back next quarter and it's equally as bad, if not worse, because now I've spent more time in it, I have to release it. So go back and look at the things that you're trying to do, whether it's marketing and whether it's networking, or picking up the phone versus texting, whatever it is. You have to review it and see how it is next quarter, and and so on.
Yeah, that's good. I think just a funny but so important note, especially please do that with your marketing. I have so many realtors that I work with, and we'll start out, they're like, hey, could you, and some of my LOs do the same thing. Hey, man, I'd like you to help me with some of this marketing stuff. I'm like, well, what are the results? How many leads did you get from it? What's your conversion on it? Do you know what I mean? Like, what are you getting from it? And I don't know. So one, you've got to really examine the marketing dollars that you're spending and review that, because a lot of that stuff seems like it's good and you got sold on the idea and it just needs to be dumped.
Right. And that's the hard part, though, is admitting that it's not working and get rid of it. So go back for a second to the relationships and the walking ambassadors and everything. If you're getting leads from them, you're not paying for the leads. What you're paying is from, you know, the integrity and everything else, but you're not physically paying money for that lead. No one else has it. So you have got to follow up on it, and you have got to make sure that you do your very best to get that sold or listed or whatever it is, so you get more. Because the more that you get that doesn't cost you anything is the more money that you're going to be making, and the more clients you're going to make happy.
Totally agree. And on that note, and I know we're going to get to this because I can see some of the questions that are coming in. I know we're going to dig a little deeper into this in a minute. But to that point, like if you take the online lead deal and you get 100 leads a month and you're spending a few $1,000s for those, and those conversions are really 1% to sometimes the best get 5% at that. So you're getting 5 closings for every 100 leads at best. How much work, how many calls, how much follow-up is that? You got to hire more staff almost just to be able to handle all of that, versus strong referrals that convert at 50 to 75%, on the low end 25 to 40%.
Yeah.
It's such a more scalable business. And here's what you're doing. Instead of spending all that money on the online leads, you know what you're doing? You're buying gifts. You're spending some thoughtfulness money, right? You're showing appreciation through cards and sharing with some of the things we're going to talk about in a minute with the referrers and the clients that came to you, and you're investing your money on that, and it's an investment and not what I like to call a gamble.
Right, but the problem with that, Andy, is that a lot of people think if they're not spending money on it, then it's not really not marketing.
Right.
Okay, which makes absolutely no sense. I would much prefer to get 10 leads this year than spend, you know, $1,000 on 1,000 leads or 10 leads or whatever it is, because I know that the leads that I'm going to get are valuable.
Yep.
And I know that they already have one foot in the door, maybe not two, but one. I mean, I just got a speaking engagement, and I kept saying, well, how did you get my name? Well, so-and-so saw you, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but how did you get my name? And it turns out it was somebody that had seen me like 3 years ago. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You just don't know where it comes from.
We don't. Okay, so let's get to some of the questions here, and I'm actually going to type back to one of these to get some clarification. So hold on one second. Okay, so here is one. We've got, I'm a new agent. I'm having a hard time standing out. Do you think I should focus more on standing out against other agents or just standing out in front of my clients, maybe potential clients?
I think that standing out, you know, like competing with other agents is not the way to go. You need to stand out for yourself, and you need to stand out for your clients. So you know, I always say, if you look at your clients, even if you're brand spanking new, you have a few people that you've spoken to, 5 maybe, doesn't matter.
Right.
Is there a common thread there? Because sometimes it's as simple as everybody that you're relating to are teachers. Everybody you're relating to are women or men or sports people, or it doesn't matter. But look for the common thread, and then you have to really figure out what's important to them. So 1 is by asking questions, but by 2 is by listening to what they're saying. So, and I use this a lot when I say, you know, a client of mine that I just want to stay in contact with, we may not do business this year, I don't know, but I also heard her say she loves traveling and she loves cooking. I have articles on traveling and taking cooking classes. So what do? I send it to her and say, hey, so-and-so, saw this article, thought you'd love it, reminded me of you, have a great day. I don't say, when are we going to talk? When are we going to have coffee? When are we going to do business? I don't say anything like that. So standing out simply means that your name is in front of them, you're seen as the expert, but you're consistently being in front of them. It doesn't mean you're always asking for business. So listen to what they're saying to you.
So I'm going to dig in a little bit more on this too. We've got some other questions kind of that go with it. But if you don't go where I want, I'm going to go there. But one of the questions that I think dovetails right off of this is goes back to the question about ambassadors. What are some good habits to build my list of ambassadors? And I think you just touched on one there. And I'd like you to go over some of your habits and how to build strong ambassadors for you.
Okay, so building ambassadors come in different phases. First of all, to actually meet people, I usually meet them at a networking event or some event that I've gone to, or I've been introduced by somebody else. But even still, you have to start at the beginning. And so starting at the beginning to me shows that I have to show that I'm interested in them, not interesting to them. Big difference. So I'll start asking questions. You know, how long have you been in business? What brought you there? You know, do you do any other networking events? Where are you networking? Because if they're my person, I want to network where they're also networking. Okay, and then I'll ask them questions to get the conversation going, so I get to learn more about them. But then I have to continue that conversation. So is it something I'm sending them? Is it setting up a coffee date or, you know, whatever? But you have to build that relationship. They don't become walking ambassadors just by, you know, because you're a really nice person or you're dressed well. That's not what a walking ambassador does. A walking ambassador is somebody that you can trust and they trust you. Going into it, don't assume that they're going to become your walking ambassador right away. It doesn't happen. You have to go in with the assumption nothing's going to happen on their end for a while, but you are open to it. And so, you know, then that's the first piece. If it's a client, you know, I get testimonials from clients all the time. Some offer them, but some I'll ask, if I did a good job, if you liked what you heard, would you write a testimonial for me? And I put it on my website or I share it with someone else that could be a potential client. I just did a sales training class and I talked about this whole thing. And at the end I said, now I'm going to do something that I'm telling you to do and you probably don't think that I actually do it. And I said, I would love to get testimonials from you about what you thought about the training. I got the greatest testimonials. They were in my class. If they didn't like it, they wouldn't write one.
Right.
So if you're selling a house, if you're listing a house and they like the way you put it out there, and they like the way you treated them, and you treated them with respect, why wouldn't they write a testimonial? It's like asking for a referral. People say, oh, I can't ask for a referral. They probably won't give me one. They won't if you don't ask. So testimonials are another way of getting people to start thinking about you and start referring you out. That's what a walking ambassador is. So whether it's continuing the conversation, whether it's asking for testimonials, and whether it's actually doing it. The first time you do it, somebody's going to say, wow, she was serious about this. And that's what happens. So you start to build that. Now, if somebody does give you a referral, you've got to follow up on it, and you've got to let them know, and you've got to thank them. You know, thank you for the referral. This is what happened, because you don't want them to think like nothing happened either.
Oh, that's right.
So
that's so huge too. And it's like even if they send you it and you don't thank them, I mean, they're like, I mean, you know, I'm not doing it for that, but not for nothing. You didn't even write me a card. You know, it's like show that grace. It goes a long way. So digging into what you just discussed about don't going into it to get, but to give. Don't assume that they're going to be your ambassador. It's going to twist everything in your mind, and they're going to sense that, and it's just not going to go well. And also be interested, not interesting. So I'd like to break that down this way to kind of dovetail on what you said. There's more than two components, but two components I want to focus on is one, what Judy's talking about as far as in casual conversation or in reaching out, and in habits to do daily. So you mentioned earlier about you knew one of your connections that liked cooking, so you looked up articles on cooking and you send them to her, right? It's one of the ways you stay in contact. So here's what I like to share with you, whether you're going after new influencers or potential referral partners or clients, and then also what happens when you get there. So to get them, one great way to be known as the biggest influencer and connector in your market is to every day take 30 minutes in the morning and do three things. You're going to share your compassion, you're going to share your connections, and you're going to share your knowledge to at least 3 people a day. It can be people that are in your top 20, top 50 networking list. These can be people that you're trying to go that are influencers that are maybe a little too big and you want to go out and reach them. And these are people that maybe you just met, right, that are just starting to get that relationship, right? So you've got those that you can share those things with. One example is to share an article about stuff that they care about. That's sharing your knowledge, sharing your compassion. If they have a baby or something happens in their life, giving them a gift. There's also sharing your connections. And I know, Judy, you do this a lot. You've done it with me. It's like, hey, who do I know that you may want to know? And how do I get you guys connected if you can add value? And then you use the ambassador technique for them, right? And be an ambassador for them first and make that connection. And you start to inspire a lot of reciprocity. So Judy, any notes on that first before I go to the second piece?
Well, one of the things I always do is when I'm talking to somebody and I'm feeling them out and, I will ask them, what can I do to support you? And sometimes they're like shocked. They're like, really? You want to support me? So I say, yeah, well, who is it that you want to meet? Is there someone that you know? Is there some type of person? Once I get to know them, I'll also invite them to go through my LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But when I invite you to go through my LinkedIn, you need to go through it and you need to tell me who you want to meet. Don't say, okay, I'm looking for realtors, you go through it, because people have done that to me. I'm like, yeah, no. I will gladly do the warm introduction, but you need to go through it. But but I do believe that there's different ways of handling it. One of the other things which you touched on and I touched on is you have to thank people. You have to thank them. It doesn't always have to be a present. It doesn't always have to be a referral. But you have to thank people for their time. And so I always write a handwritten thank you note, always. And I thank people for their time. And, I got more referrals from people that I did not write insurance for than from that I did, simply because I took the time, I listened to them, I couldn't help them, I didn't try to give them something that they couldn't afford or it wasn't right for them, and they thought, wow, and she even wrote me a thank you note.
Right.
So, when you are with someone, whether you get the listing or you don't, whether you sell or you don't, it doesn't matter. Let somebody know that you have that kind of thought process and send a thank you note, a simple thank you note. It's you're not asking for anything. I just want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. If there's any way I can support you, please let me know, and you sign your name. Done.
Yep.
Done.
I love that. On that note, guys, a challenge for yourself. Write this down. Challenge yourself to write 10 thank you notes a week. Go get some card stock and go write 10 thank you notes a week. Right now, I'm up to about 25 thank you notes a week that me and the team write for different things. We are always writing thank you notes. But guys, challenge yourself to write 10. Every person that refers you, every person you have a meeting with, if you have a great conversation with someone, if you get inspired by someone that posts something great on Facebook, you can write a thank you note for that too. People love thank you notes. And so that's very valuable. Okay, so second piece, when you're talking to them, when you're at those networking events, I'm going to share mine and then Judy, you share yours. I think you know where I'm going with this. So generally speaking, when you're starting the conversation and being general, if you want to keep yourself in a relevant conversation and not small talk, really don't like small talk. It's like, let's have something productive out of this time that we're both spending away from our families and our loved ones here, and let's make this valuable. So use the acronym FORM. You've probably heard some version of this before. It's focus on family, occupation, recreation, and money and meaning. And when you do those things, you're going to get into some good conversation. You're going to find out some connection points, maybe find out some history together, and be able to have a good conversation. And it's going to build the rapport that you want to build to show that you are interested, not interesting. And then once you dig down, you can go to what, Judy?
Well, then you go to what I do, and I call it spin. And so, and so the spin is actually a little bit more detailed because it's going to give you the situation, the problem, the issue, and the dream. So you have to just think about the need. I mean the need. Yeah, I don't know why I said dream. The need. So you have to actually decide what it is that you want to have this conversation about and why it's so important. So when you start asking questions, you're going to find out what the situation is. Now remember, one of the things about networking, and I can't tell you how many times this has happened to me, and it's always a realtor. Always a realtor. And I just want to they always say to me, so do you know anybody that wants to list their house? I have to get my numbers in. Okay, you just met me. We haven't exchanged cards. We haven't spoken, but you want me to refer somebody, or do I want to list my house? You don't go to a networking event to buy or sell a house, to buy a computer, to hire a coach. That's not what you go for. You go to build relationships. When you do that, you also stand out from the crowd. So just be aware of that. But
yes, I love that. I hate people go out and just hand you a card right when they meet you. I'm like, yeah, it's gross. It's like old 1980s networking. What are we doing? It's 2017 almost, people. Okay, good. So let's get back to a couple of Q&A. So one, I like this one. How do I figure out my best sandbox, the best target market for me?
Well, first and foremost, it has to be the people that you want to play with. Okay, don't just pick a target market because it seems to be the hot target market. You're going to be doing business with these people. So what I always do is I have a whole checklist of how to describe your perfect person, and it's not just their age, it's not just the demographics, it's what do they like to read, who are their thought leaders, what do they watch on TV, all these kind of things that start to segment the population and keeps getting smaller, 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 then all of a sudden the person pops out at you off the sheet of paper. Okay, and that, like I said earlier, it could be somebody, maybe the person that you really want to work with are first-time buyers. That could be male or female, it doesn't matter. Or maybe you only want to work with single women because either you are a single woman or you know so many single women and you know that's a huge market. It doesn't matter. But the sandbox has to be something that you want to play in. The worst thing you could do is say, I am going to work with, all athletes, and I hate sports, and I don't even want to learn about it. I don't want to know about it. I just want to make money off them. It'll never work. It will never work because they'll see right through you. There goes your integrity right out the window.
That's huge. And on that note, if you're like, well, I don't even really know like what I like, maybe you're in that place. I know I was. So if you're newer in the business, this is going to be harder. But if you've had some clients, think about the top 5 to 10 clients. Take a look at all your clients and look at the ones that you love the most. Circle them and then go back and say, okay, what did I love about them? You know what I mean?
Right.
And maybe you're going to find out, hey, they're collaborative, they're energetic, they really appreciated my advice. They were in this price point. You'll go over some of those things and you'll see like what you'll be able to kind of, oh yeah, they had great credit because they went, conventional, or maybe they were first-time home buyers. You're going to find those things out. List the qualities and characteristics. Start with the clients first, and then you can kind of reverse engineer them and then kind of determine your market from the qualities that they have. Anything to add to that, Judy?
Yeah, I agree. I think that the point of it is that you have to start asking the questions. You have to start thinking about who it is, what they look like, and if you can't figure it out, have somebody start asking you some questions. I was at an event and a woman next to me had just started her direct marketing business. She had just retired from teaching. She had no idea how to do the business or anything else. We happened to be sitting next to each other. She said, do you have any advice? I know you're a coach. I said, who's your market? I don't know. Who do you want to work with? I have no idea. What do you like to do? I don't know. I just retired. I said, where'd you retire from? She said, teaching. I was in teaching for 45 years. And I said, are there other teachers that are retiring? She goes, a ton. And I said, do you think they'd want to have some residual income? She goes, never thought about it. And I said, well, why don't we start with something that you are familiar with? So that's what she started her business with. And she's writing, she's bringing in a lot of teachers into this direct sales. Same thing. Where did you come from? Maybe it's the language that you speak. If you're an IT person, you want to work with all IT people because you talk the same language. So start thinking about what separates you and what brings you together with another group that you want to play with.
That's a whole nother topic we're going to talk about. People,
totally.
Psychographics and demographics and knowing who you want to go after. We're going to do another call on that because I love that topic and I can tell we can really get rap about that. So let me summarize this call and some points that I want you to write down and take a couple of tactics, and then we're going to wrap up this call in about 2 minutes. Okay, so this was about standing out. So there's a few things you can do to stand out. One, learn the acronym SCIRT on your screen. Make sure you've written that down. And here are the 3 things to do. One, have some kind of marketing collateral, some kind of credibility builder, or what we call the merit badges of marketing. So that's a handout, being on a radio show or a TV show, putting up some of those things on your digital space, or having, again, a white paper, anything like that, a video series, things like that help you, especially in this type of market. 2, and probably more importantly, is active listening. Judy talked about active listening and just making sure that you're engaged and in the moment. Stop jumping ahead from what their conversation, because you heard this question 1,000 times, or you've asked this question 1,000 times and heard the same thing. You got to make it fresh every time, or you're going to miss their needs. And on the monetary side of this, it's going to cost you more time because you're going to have to show them 100 houses instead of 10, and it's going to cause them frustration, and they're not going to wow and praise you, which is going to mean you're going to get less referrals, and you got to go spend more money, and we don't want to do either of those things. Number 3, make walking ambassadors, walking testimonials, walking billboards that are much stronger than that, because they are from a credible source that has high value and cross-sell to you. It's a powerful thing, and that means you have to practice that by leading out and being a walking ambassador to others. That means you're not referring 3 people title, 3 people this, 3 people that. It's weak. You've got to refer strong. You've got to refer and be that person. This is who I think's the best for you. If for whatever reason it doesn't work out, please let me know. I work with a lot of the best lender title this in the area, but you're not going to have that problem. You're going to love working with them. XYZ about them is why. Okay. So those are 3 big things. Then some other tips that I know that go on top of that. Be known as a question queen, like Judy. You're not going to be Judy, but question queen is huge. Build relationships before you need them. Stop going into networking events going, I need a listing. You got to start the process well before you need that so you can really build relationships and be interested, right, Judy, and not interesting. Okay?
Correct.
Never bad to be interesting. Just make sure it's not first.
Just not that yeah, right.
You're more interesting by being interested anyway. The less you talk, the smarter people think you are. Ask my wife. Because I talk way too much in front of her, and she knows how unsmart I am now. So look for people that compliment you and aren't competitors to you. Ask friends what they think about you to find out more about yourself. A big one here next, write down your goals. I don't care how many times you've written it down. Only 5% of the people have a written goal or plan. Only 25% of those people actually execute on that plan. So we've got to be better at that. You're going to stand out just by doing that. And then stop looking at other realtors as competitors. Learn from them, have an abundance mentality, not a scarcity mentality. And then tactically, every month or every quarter, do Judy's 3 R's: review, readjust, and then release the things that you can't control. Judy, final thoughts.
Make sure that this is a business, not a hobby. So you really have to devote your time to it. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not HGTV. This is the real world. These are real people. So treat this as a business, not a hobby. And please just stay focused on what your goals are and what your whys are, and just do the business the way you want to do the business with the people you want to do it with. So at the end of the year, you can look back and say, you know, I did exactly what I was going to do. I did even better than I thought.
That's perfect. All right, so here's the final wrap-ups here. We've done this and this. This is our information here. You can find out more about us at thetuttlegroup.com if you want to get more engaged and look at how we can help grow your business. We do a lot of things towards that end. We have a lot of tactics and strategies and classes and education, and we do a myriad of things for your clients that develop and create referrals during the process and after it for you. Most importantly, though, coming up next week, we've got Dayton Schrader. He is top producing realtor, 50 sides last month, going to net $2 million this year. It's all referral based. He works from his VIPs. He uses these practices that Judy was just talking about today in his business, and he's seen enormous success from it. One of the top agents in the country. That is next Tuesday, so get that link. Email us, go to thetuttlegroup.com, and you can go to the events and you can sign up and register for that now. Also on the 14th of December, we are doing a business planning and goal setting breakfast and learn. We do it every year, and we'll be doing that. It's going to be a couple of hours, and you're going to walk out of there with a business plan, with your goals defined, with a couple of tactics and 10 things you need to do in the next 90 days to launch off the pad and get a rolling start into 2017 to make it your best year yet. Judy, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it and hope we gave some golden nuggets to everybody.
I hope we did too. Hope you got it. Please give us your feedback. We got a lot of great questions. We appreciate you guys. We will talk to you soon, and have a happy Thanksgiving.